This is the first exercise for Monday, 15th of September for Latin 1. It's a simple, relatively simple vocabulary matching exercise where I give you a translation of the sentence in English and then ask you to match the English word or words to the Latin words below. The Latin words are in the Latin word order. And the English words naturally are in the English word order, so you can't really just put next here and day there and F there. It will lead to chaos. So let me show you what I'm looking for. First of all, I don't much care about proper names for this exercise, so you can just write F and S for flaccus and scintilla. The verb is always the most obvious thing to start with. In this case, it's rise. You'll notice that we have flaccus here, scintilla there, and they're joined by et. And in English, they're joined by and. So that's an obvious decision to make. And that only leaves post-die and mane. One good guess to be was that the Latin word order, we just retained the Latin word order as closely as we can. So the first translation, next day, will translate the first adverb you see post-die. Okay. The next sentence is very short. The verb is translated in English as is because Nundinae, which means literally of the 9 days, we translate as market day. The market day occurred at some point within the 8-day period that the Romans called the week. Because they counted inclusively, it was called a 9-day week, and the last day was called the Nundinae. Okay. That only leaves the word for, so we'll write that here. Okay. So it's largely self-explanatory, but there are some tricks which I want to go over with you. Scintilla. So olivas is a good match for olives. Should be pretty obvious. And ficus starts fi, and so does figs start with fi. Plus, they're joined by and in English, and as we know from above, and is a translation for et. Okay? Move this over here. And so, yeah, the verb will naturally be more obvious. Puts, in this case, places. Okay. Horatia insorto sedet. So Horatia is like that. In horto, because of horticulture, garden, and sits, that only leaves one word, sits. Okay. Scintilla, again, is not a problem, so that only leaves you 4 words to work with. This is obviously going to be Horatia. Okay. And the verb will be summons or calls. You can just write one of them if you like. Okay. And that only leaves soon here. Okay. So that's how it goes. Once you've done that, I want you to record each word here on the second sheet. Okay. Not the nouns, but the everything else. So post-die should write here, meaning next day. Et, I don't think I included. Oh, I did. Okay. And surgunt should write as they rise. Mane meaning early. At a later point in the week, it's this vocabulary sheet that you're making for yourselves here that you'll be able to use. So you'll need to do a good job. You won't be able to use this one, but this one. Okay. So other than that, there are just some somewhat slightly tricky ones. Esse means you are. Muss, the ending muss means we. So this part of festina means we. Okay. And the other part you know already, hasten, we hasten. Okay. In this sentence, slightly, well, it makes sense in English. You just write S there, H there. And the rest of it are words you've had before, right? So figs and ficos you've had here, olivas and olives you'd have over here. Okay, so you can just add those in. Festinant, this ending means they. Same with this one, adveniunt, not he arrives, but they arrive. Viri are men. This is a three, well, there's only two, I guess. Men and women, okay? So many men and women, okay? Multi is many. Let's see. Already is another one here. This can mean now or already. In this case, already is just a better translation. Okay, on the next page, see if there's anything interesting for you. In English, we can't say are as the subject. We have to say there are. Okay, when the subject is just a single word, taverns, or in this case it means stalls. Here, you have to use there in English, but that's not that important for us. Here's a compound sentence. We'll get into that a little later. Here's a case where the same word, alii, is used to mean two different things in a sequence, so some, and then the other two mean just simply others. In number 15, it's mostly proper names. Okay. The next sentence, pretty self-explanatory, really, I think. Quanti means how much. Illa does not really mean she, it means that feminine one. But in English, it's easier just to pretend that it means she. Okay. I've tried to eliminate all the U's and put V's there where it's before a vowel. Uno denario means for one denarius. Denarius is a form of a coin, relatively low value silver coin. This is, we'll talk about this at some other point. This shows the price, and it's expressed in Latin. With this case ending, uno denario. Okay. Anything else? Spectas, again, as we had above, means you. I've tried to hyphenate verbs and their subject when there's only one word in Latin that translates it, as here, you inspect. Okay. Sometimes you have to put words together that are rather far apart in the word order. in Latin. So she, remember, that feminine one means she, and here is the word that means says. Okay, coming at the very end of the sentence, or in the middle. Quod malis sunt. Let's see, number 24, number 25, again, a verb with an S form meaning you. Number 26, it's sometimes easier to put known in a funny position, as I have here. Otherwise, you'd have to write, the woman doesn't buy figs. But it's sometimes easier to write it in this strange Latin word order. But the woman figs not buys. Okay. Soon, you've had several times already. There should only be one space here per word. So once you've written soon once, you don't have to worry about it too much after that. Then just continue. This is a past tense. We'll get to that later, but that's why it's we have sold, not we are selling. But they're giving you a foretaste of have sold. Yeah, that's all for this exercise. The second part will be filling this form out. And in addition to writing out the translation, I want you to, well, not today, but at a future point, write out the ending and what that means. Okay, that's a singular verb ending. NT is a plural verb ending, meaning this means he or she. That means they. Same with adveniunt, NT equals they. Okay. As for the nouns, if I haven't separated it off a morpheme with this hyphen here, you don't need to worry about it. So alia is nominative singular, happens to be feminine. This is nominative plural masculine. This is an adjective. That's a nominative plural feminine. This is a noun, which is accusative plural, happens to be masculine. Okay. So that's something we'll get into a little bit later. Okay. For right now, just concentrate on filling out this part and this part as a sort of preparation for learning the vocabulary.